Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online. G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome as I bring you to Narrandera in New South Wales in this week's Classic Restos on the road. The hustle and the bustle of busy Narrandera sets the scene. We found a cafe for breakfast and I'm glad that we booked. You are seeing shots filmed early one Sunday morning and the typical country town boasting its charm and atmosphere never fails us. Narrandera is home to around 5,700 people and also home to the Narrandera Vintage Restorers and Collectors Club. Now this is a full episode, and to be honest, I don't actually know where to start. We're on a property, 7 acres, just outside of Narrandera, belonging to a guy by the name of Eddie. A few of the car club members have turned up with their cars, so we'll probably go and interview them first. But after that, there's Eddie's sheds. And I don't know how I'm going to film that. You wait till you see Eddie's stuff. Sheesh. Now, before we get started, it's stuff like this that blows one away. A tyre on an old rim with timber spokes and the rubber held on with fencing wire. Yeah, that's what they did back in the old days. That's what lengths they went to keep something running. And it's evident, still sitting here in the paddock. Can you believe that? Fencing wire to hold a tyre on. You don't see that every day. And the first guy up today, how are you, Damien?
Very good, thanks, Fletch. How are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for coming along.
Welcome.
Eddie's place is really something, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. We've been up here a few times with the club and yeah.
Great stuff. Now, this is something very different. Love what you've done here. 1947 International, a KB, correct?
Yeah, that's right, Fletch, yeah.
Again, it's one of these things where it's an extension of your own persona. There's no guidelines, no rules. You can customise whatever you like. And you've done a few quirky things with this into here, Damien.
Yeah, Fletch, it's sort of a work in progress and it's one of those things, if you try something on, it doesn't work, you take it off and you try something else, and it's just about getting the proportions right, and yeah, and that's what I've tried to do with it, and I'm quite happy with what I've come up with.
I love what you've done. You open up the door, have a look inside, check out the rear view mirror, hornet's nest or a wasp's nest clinging there to the mirror, and you look over in the corner of the roof and there's another one looking at you.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know why I do things like that, but I just do.
Now, the stance of the truck looks great. It sits on the pavement nicely. It's got a nice rake about it. It just looks good. What have you done in the suspension department?
It's sitting on a Toyota chassis, so it's pretty much sitting at the right height of a Toyota, and then I've just lowered the cab and the tray and that over the top of that, and then it's got Ford out of a AU Tickfit running gear in it. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's got the 4-speed auto, that sort of thing, so yeah.
When the truck first came from Broken Hill, what was it like?
It was originally a tipping body, and it's been really good condition, really. So basically, the cab forward's still original, still got the original glass in the front and the rear. So it was a really good truck to start. I originally was looking for a Ford truck to build. I was looking for something to build in the rat rod. I've had classic cars and that in the past, and I was looking for something that was going to be just try something different. And I seen this thing in a sort of like a farmer's junk pile, and I just kept looking at it and thinking, yeah, I might be able to do something with that. I would never afford to build an International before, but as it turns out, that's what I went with.
Hey, Damien, thanks for coming along today. We've got a few of you to get through here this morning and showing up here at Eddie's property, mate. Nice to meet up here. Thank you very much for showcasing this very cool international. And again, it's when things are ratted like this, it's the only one in Australia. They're so individualised. And, mate, thanks again, eh?
Yeah, thank you, Fletch.
Time for this guy now on today's show. How are you, Cole?
Good, Fletch.
Good, thank you. You might want to give the car club a plug because you are the vice president, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being the vice president. I'm a member of our local club, which is called the Narrandera Vintage Restorers and Collectors Club. It's a great little club, local club. We've got lots of members that are into bikes, cars, tractors, trucks, classic cars, modified cars, young and old, and just a really good club to be a member of.
Cole, behind us we've got a 1958 FC. What a beautiful looking car. An era back for General Motors Holden where 50% of the market was their way. And when you stop and think about that, just imagine every second car on the road back then pretty well being a Holden. Also the era of that stainless steel separation going into the rear quarter and that two-tone paint. And on that note, I like what you've done here. You've still kept it a two-tone car.
Yeah. I didn't want to take away from the originality of the body too much. I think they're a really pretty car. Always admired them as a child when there were still a few floating around. And I think they're just a pretty little car. So I didn't want to take that away. I just wanted to add a few things to it.
They really laced it on. They did a fantastic job with their bright work. Good metal sections in the front, chrome sections, and of course the stainless steel bright work as well. The interior of the car, beautifully done. When I look around the car and I see the leather work and around the instrumentation, Cole, of the dash cluster there, in my opinion, it's a customisation that's done just right.
Yeah, I tried to keep with the original theme and not overdo it, not underdo it, but just keep with the originality, the seats, the door trims, not add too many gauges, just keep it simple and plain and clean, really. Yeah.
Engine and driveline, like to share that with us?
Yeah, it's just a 327 small block Chev with a basically all Edelbrock gear in it, roller cam, turbo 400, a shortened HKTG Bathurst Monaro rear end, four-wheel disc, and it does everything well. It stops and goes well, makes probably 420 horsepower, and it's a light little car, so it doesn't need a lot.
They're good drivable numbers. They're good street numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, it is, and it's drivable to do what we like to do in the car. We travel a fair way in it. 4 or 5 hour trips, and it handles it, not a problem.
Good on you, Cole. We'll keep up your great work with your club. Again, thank you for coming along today here to Eddie's place. We will get to Eddie. He's over there at the moment holding up the Fujitsu air conditioner fan unit. We've got to go into his sheds. I'm a bit scared, Cole. I don't know if I'm going to get out.
Well, he's got a great collection in there. If there was a something to stamp our club, it would definitely be Eddie's shed. Yeah, that's for sure.
Right, stay right where you are. Eddie's coming up. Cole, love your work. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Fletch. Pleasure.
Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man. The Falcon Squire wagon was unloved in 1964, but turns heads today. The Americans call them woodies, but the panelling, it's just fiberglass and plastic. But it's a passion that Shannon's understands, which is why my Fords are insured with Shannon's. And now, so's the home.
Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. In 2023, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicentre. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Limited spaces available. Book now. 2023 Detroit Tour with Fletch. Time now for a couple of Mopars on today's show. How are you, Mark?
Not too bad, thanks, Fletch. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. You're an immensely talented man because you've driven two cars at once here today. That's very clever.
Yeah, pretty versatile these days. It comes with age.
Good on you, mate. Well done. Okay, you've got two Mopars in the camp here, a 69 VF and a 76 VK here. Yep. Tell us about this one here with the nice little addition there with the VIP front.
Yep. Yeah, this one's a VF two-door hardtop. Originally had a slant 6 in it, but it was changed over to a 318. I got it. It was already resprayed, and yeah, it's starting to crack out now. So I didn't paint this one, so don't blame me for the paintwork.
That's okay. Obviously, it was painted a long time ago.
Yes, it was. Yep, and been sitting in the shed for 15 years before I got it. Yeah. Just a bare shell.
Yeah. The interior is quite nice, Mark. I love the seats. The seats are really nice.
Yeah, they were coming out of CM sort of thing, and didn't have any front seats in it, but it had the original rear seat, and that's about all in the interior.
Been a good car over time. What have you had to do much to it?
Well, I had to track down motor and running gear, everything for it. That's why I went for the 318. It originally had the K-frame V8 front end in it, so it's just a matter of finding a motor, which I did. And yeah, no, it's been a great old car. We probably use that more than all the other cars. Yeah.
Good on you, Mark. Now, the one next to us here, apparently it comes from a little distance from here, and it was a bit of a mess when you found it.
Yeah, it was a big mess. Yeah, it was a heap of holes in it, and then I had a fair bit of work to do on it to get to that stage.
And isn't it nice that you've done the work to bring it back and save it, and obviously being a panel beater as well. That's when you can get into full swing and, well, make the most of your craft.
Yeah, I said, yeah, and saved me a lot of money. Yeah. And pulling hair out at the same time, because it was a big job. It was a very big job. 2 years to do it, so, yeah. So.
Okay, 265 car?
265, yeah, 3-speed auto, yep. It's completely original how it come out, more or less, except I've got to paint bumper bars and stuff like that.
Also, Mark, the interior of this VK, nice, again, with your seats. You've got good seats in your cars, nice interiors.
Yeah. Well, that's the original pattern that come out in them. Yeah, pretty rare stuff, but they only come out in the white nights, apparently, yeah. Yeah, they had these come out in 200 made. There was 100 maroon ones and 100 white ones. And the maroon ones had the red insert, and the white ones had the black insert in the seats. Yeah.
Good on you, Mark. Keep up your great work, mate.
No problem, Fletch. Thanks for having it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. No, thanks for coming along here today and preserving these two crises. And catch you next time round.
No worries. Thanks, Fletch.
This is Eddie. Eddie grew up on a farm and has been a local to the area all of his life so far. Eddie has been collecting engines, memorabilia and farm-related machinery 35 years. There's stuff here from the late 1800s through to the 1970s. In fact, there's so much stuff here, Eddie can't remember what he's got. But he's about to give it a red-hot go and show us around.
Welcome to my shed, and thanks for coming and having a look at my collection. We'll start over here. I got this drill press at a clearance sale a couple of years ago. It's missing the forward and reverse on it. It's about 100 years old. I still use it. The type of machines or the technology that's around to be so precise to mark to all the markings on such an old machine. These two engines are made by James Martin in Sydney, who imported Waterloo Boy engines. These are exact copies. Waterloo Boy was John Deere. For some reason, they made their own. These are pretty rare engines. That's a David Brown tractor, a pretty early pre-crop master, and it's one I don't use very much because there's a problem with the timing and the magneto, and it's a crank handle start, and if you're not careful, it will break your hand. This is an F12 Farmall that my father's uncle used to own. There's a photo of it in a book in its working clothes. The mud guards and all the steering setup and the front wheels are not original, but to my knowledge, that's the way the family got it. This is approximately a 1932-33 Bedford truck that I bought about 25 years ago, and it's slow work in progress. All the sheet metal work around the cab is very thin, and all the internal construction of the cab and down in the pillars was all timber. That's all been taken out. This is a 1932, I think, International truck that my father bought and restored from property just the other side of Collin Gully, which is between here and Wagga. Over here we have 2 wool presses, and beside that, down the front, we've got a pumpkin shredder made by Massey Harris, Canada. There's a heap of plough seats, it's mainly Australian, HV Mackay, Mayer Miller, Gibbons Footscray, D Harvey, Box Hill, Melbourne. The truck is a 48 Bedford, owned by my brother. Was on the road and for a little while on club plates, and he's slowly getting it back together. Beside me is a wheat pickler they used for putting a fungicide on wheat before they sowed it. This is another Bedford truck, the same, it's a year or 2 younger than the one that I'm restoring. This is a bigger version. Slight difference in the motor, mainly around the carburetor and air intake. Inside the cab, you can see all the wooden frame is still here. Still has to be dealt with eventually. And as you can see, all the timber work inside around the door and all in through the pillars, again made by Holden. What we have here is a collection of engines, both local and overseas, and that one's a United American engine. That's a Rosebery made in Australia, but there's also several different brands of that engine, and it's also a copy of an American engine. That's a Sundial, which is made by HV Mackay. This one's, it's an Australian engine set up as a firefighter. It's basically a marine engine, a 2-stroke engine.
My passion for cars began when Nana and Pop bought their new Toyota Crown. It was Nana's, really. She loved that car. We went everywhere in it.
My passion now is just the same, even though my cars are a little different.
I've still got Nana's car, couldn't part with it. And I reckon if she was here today, she'd be insured with Shannon's too.
Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. And of course, if you own a classic, it goes without saying, it just has to be insured with Shannon's. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannon's a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And the Shannon's Club awaits you. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. And here's a little Fletchy tip for you. Before you take your classic out on a club run or any distance with some substantial kilometres to it, spray the front of your vehicle with WD-40. Lace it on because nothing sticks, no bugs. Just got back from a road trip around about 2,500 kilometres. Now, normally, by now, these bugs here would have dried and solidified. But look at this. They come straight off. It's petroleum-based too, so it will not hurt your paint and won't hurt your chrome. The WD-40 company is not an advertising sponsor of Classic Restos. It's just a tip that I believe and would like to pass on to you. Happy motoring. Oh, and by the way, in the end, when you go to wash your vehicle, the water will bead on the front of your vehicle. Beautiful.
This display piece, with what we've been told, came out of what's now Coles supermarkets in town, but it was a big department store, and it's different size chains, links are changed, the size and the number when you go into the shop to order chain. This is a Conrod that I bought at a clearing sale at Lake Kajelico about 25 years ago, and they tell me it came out of a power station at Lake Kajelico. As you can see, it's had a bit of a hard time. Up on the wall you'll see a lot of early stencils for branding wool. One over the far right is RBB. That's my father's wool classing stencil. When they baled the wool and classed it, that name went on it. And then there's various early shearing overhead gear, a couple electric. There's also a couple of branding irons and stuff. Around the corner, there's a collection of drench guns, all narrow hand pieces. Most of them are either Wolseley, Moffat Virtue, Lister, and there's a couple of Sunbeam and Cooper. Well, Sunbeam and Cooper is the same thing. And that one there is air operated. And then there's the collection of combs and cutters with different names and brands on them. The bags on the wall hanging up, different sizes, different brands. Most are potato bags, the Glenfine ones, and there's some Menegazzo bags scattered around on the other side. My father used to work on those properties. In front of us is a Chamberlain tractor, Series 2 Countryman with a Pommy engine in it. Pommy's being Pommy. The engine was torn down because the Meadows engine is susceptible to electrolysis in the liners. We've got a Mitchell engine here. It's made in Mitchell's in South Australia. My father's got a Fairbanks Morse engine. This, we think, is an exact copy. Pre-WD Wolseley engine. Still needs a little bit of finishing off to do. Now beside you is what you call an ammonia compressor. It's got an unusual inlet take system in it, in that the inlet valve is inside the piston, and you can hear it if it'll turn over. That cracking sound you can hear is the valve in the piston working. This is another view of wheat bags and potato bags. Some of them, the weights on them, I'm not sure, they're in kilos. There's a couple that are in pounds, and they're a lot heavier. What we have here is two seed broadcasters for clover and lucerne, which would have been on a sulky or a buggy or ran off the side of a truck. This ignition coil was made by Lucas. It's actually out of that Bedford truck, and it's the only coil that I've seen where the ignition key is actually in the coil. It's a long-term project. It's a 203 Peugeot, and there's not a lot of them around, but it's a basket case. The sideboards I didn't show you are actually in the shed, and they're in really good order because they were taken off the ute and put away. The main reason why I got it is because it had H.L. Brown Kinross Urangeline, which is one of my father's distant relatives. We've got the engine soaking at the moment because we broke two spark plugs off trying to get it out, and the engine is seized, so we just every now and again you try and put some diesel in it.
Eddie, do you ever go into your shed sometime and just have a look around and think to yourself, where did I get all this stuff from?
All the time. And makes you wonder, what am I going to do with it all? And where can I find room to put more? Because I've run out of room.
Are you always looking for a little bit more to top things up?
Yeah. Even though you can't afford it, you still look. You still look at the auctions.
Becomes more than a hobby, doesn't it? It's a lifestyle for you.
Yeah. Fills in your time. Got to put something on the wall.
You enjoy living out here on your property?
Oh, I love it out here. Better than being in town. Peace and quiet. You can do whatever you like. You don't have to worry about your neighbours. So
you can just gather as much stuff as you like, can't you?
Yep, definitely can.
Well, Eddie, I've got to say you're an extraordinary individual, and I've certainly enjoyed the time here today on your property, and for the car club to turn up earlier in the day as well. And this is it's the old saying. It's the toe in the water. We probably have seen maybe 30 or 40% if we're lucky of what Eddie has here, but that's kind of good because we can keep that up our sleeve for another day, Eddie. What do you reckon?
You're always welcome back here, and hopefully I've got even more for you to look at.
That's what we need. We need more content. That's what we need. Eddie, I just want to thank you very much, mate, again. And it's been a pleasure looking around some of your stuff. Most of the stuff that Eddie was explaining to me, I was lost for words. You know, it's stuff that I haven't seen before, and we don't know about this stuff. You never stop learning. Farming equipment and farming-related items, which go back, 100 years or more. It's just incredible stuff. What I do love around your yard and your preservation, a lot of this stuff would have gone to landfill years ago, and thousands of items did. These ones here left are the lucky ones, the lucky items. Thanks to you, Eddie.
Yeah, thank you. But what we do need is a lot more younger people or generations to come through and start collecting it and keeping more. Otherwise, we'll lose it. Same with cars. It's all the same.
All right. Until next time, Eddie, thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you've really enjoyed this different episode of Classic Restos. And it's a big thanks to the Narrandera Vintage Restorers and Collectors Club for their effort to help make this episode happen. Rounding off, of course, with the eclectic collection of Eddie here on his property just outside of Narrandera in New South Wales. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.